So, Harmy, it's a bilateral series. There are 3 one-day international games of cricket to be won, and there are points in the World Cup Super League to be earned. But outside of that, outside of just winning the games, what are the main objectives? But what are England looking to achieve apart from 3 wins and 30 points? Are they taking guys like Luke Wood, Bryden Carson, David Payne along to make up the numbers again and carry the drinks, or should they be playing?
I hope not. I hope they play. I look at this side and I think the 7 guarantees, bankers, and you go for it. You got Morgan, Moeen Ali, Joss Buttler, Rashid, Roy, Milan, Livingston. They're in. They're probably in not only T20 World Cup, they're in 50 over World Cup in 12, 18 months' time. England try to find a left armour. They pick 1 right arm seamer and 5 left armers. They try to find this one fits all for, is it T20 and 50 over? You've also got to chuck in with that, because it's a 50 over competition, you've not got Tamil Mills. You chuck Tamil Mills into their left armour group. So there's 6 there that England probably whittled that down to 1, possibly 2, for Eoin Morgan to have for 2 world competitions, 20 and 50 over in a space of a year. At this minute in time, I think Reece Topley is leading the way. I think he's a very, very good bowler. He's a very, very good cricketer. And I think if he had a body which was durable, he could get a lot of test match wickets, because I think he's got a lot of things going for him when he's fit and firing and playing. I like this squad. I think it's a good squad. They'll not lose. They'll win 3-0 and they'll win 3-0 comfortably. And that's not me being arrogant as an Englishman thinking, we'll go and sort of steamroller the Netherlands. I just think the batting unit that's going across there is too good not to lose. So I can only see England winning 3-0. And then I would like to see each and every one of these bowlers get a go. I'd love to see David Payne get a go. I wanted to see him in the Caribbean. He didn't get a chance. It's great to see Sam Curran back playing for England again. And I'm intrigued by Luke Wood, because I actually think Luke Wood could throw his hat in the ring for a test match call-up, because I think he looks as though he is the one that's more durable than the rest of the left armers. And he's got a bit of pace, looks as though he's got a bit of a character. And I think he's got a good enough skill set to challenge for red ball and for white ball. So I think all in all, it's a good squad. And the one person I think would have played for England instead of Matt Potts at the start of the year, if he hadn't been injured, would be Bryden Carson. Because I've said from Durham's point of view, he is a very, very fine bowler. And when he's fit and firing, and he can bat as well at number 8, number 9, if they were talking about the red ball game. So all in all, I think it's a very, very good and exciting squad going to a bilateral series, which we've got to fulfill without being arrogant. I think England go over there and steamroller the Netherlands.
How could they lose? I know you can't see it, but I'll remind you that the West Indies were 99 for 5 in the second one-day international of their series. I know they won and won comfortably in the end. Let's say the Netherlands prepare a green top, roll the dice, gamble, win the toss, put England in, and they're 60 for 4. Or like the West Indies, 99 for 5. The trouble is, you look at this England squad and everyone bats. They bat down to number 14.
Exactly. That's why they don't lose. Unfortunately, man, it's 66 for 6, and they still got batters coming in Sam Curran and 1 or 2 others, David Willey, if that comes to it. So that's why I don't see them winning. Mentality, I don't see them going over to the Netherlands and thinking it's a bilateral series. We're playing against an associated nation. Let's go to Amsterdam for 5 days, take a few pictures, enjoy ourselves. What a great city it is. And we'll pop back out and go somewhere where obviously proper cricket's played. Owen Morgan doesn't think that. Matthew Mott won't think that. He's got to remember Matthew Mott's first series as full England coach in the white ball game. That's why there won't be any complacency. England will go into a professional job and professional performance. They will conduct themselves as ever, as Owen Morgan's sides normally do, the best they possibly can. They'll be great ambassadors for this country and for the game. Can I see them losing? What will it take to England get a little bit of a scare? England have struggled on slow, turgid pitches in the past, and that's what we had when the Netherlands played the West Indies. But even if they do that, I still think the skill sets of 15 players, 16 players that's going over there. And I sound arrogant by saying like this, but this England side is just too good. They're too good. They really are. I don't see anywhere that they can slip up because of mentality. They'll be at it. Skill levels, they'll be at it. And I think the Netherlands, and I really sound sort of egotistical here, but I think the Netherlands will come good out of it because England will do things properly in the right way. Yeah, they'll be good with the crowd and everything that goes with it. It will be. I would hope that the Netherlands cricket will feel we've played against a wonderful side here. We've played against a fantastic side, and they've actually enhanced the game of cricket in the Netherlands by having England here. And I just think that there'd just be skill sets will be just too good for them.
The Dutch Cricket Association are confident of selling over 5,000 tickets. I know the Amstelveen holds 5,500, and they're confident of getting a full house at least once in the 3 games, and that would be fantastic because there were no more than a couple of dozen watching the West Indies series. So it's the big 3: India, Australia, and England are the only 3 nations so far to have series which overlap. This isn't overlapping. I mean, this series is taking place right bang smack in the middle of the Test series against New Zealand. But other nations couldn't sustain that. I don't think they've got the depth of quality cricketers. But are you comfortable with it? And is it the start of the new normal, at least for the big 3?
I don't mind it. I think you've got to be... Look, I'm going to sound like Kevin Peterson here when it comes, and I mention every year a lot, that you pick and choose your games. But I think from a good board's point of view, if you can pick and choose your bilateral series by putting one-day series in while Test matches are going on, and there are series which are against Ireland, the Netherlands, Bangladesh, even Sri Lanka coming into that, Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka coming into that, the big 3 will be able to cope playing both at the same time. You look at the Indians, even though India are playing against a very, very good South Africa side, and they were 2-0 down, I'm going, India can still win this 3-2, even with their third 11. That can happen. They've rested a whole a plethora of players. I think I've got no problem with that, and that is fine. Because at the end of the day, no matter where, from an England point of view, as long as they finish in the top 7 in that group stage, I think, and they qualify for a World Cup, they're in the World Cup, nobody will want to play England. Nobody will want to play India. Nobody will want to play Australia. Now, if they finish 4th, 5th and 6th because they've been able to stretch the calendar to have 2 teams playing at the same time and maybe not be as powerful as what they are when it comes to the big tournaments coming and the pool of players that they've got because of the crossover of red and white ball players. Don't have a problem with that. And I still think that we are not being disrespectful to the Netherlands by sending a team like we have to go there. We've got a stellar side there. We've got Moeen Ali. We've got Josh Butler. We've got Owen Morgan. Arguably 3 of the most powerful players in franchise white ball cricket going to the Netherlands to play in a game and a series. No, I don't think I think we can cope with things like that to keep the calendar going and make sure that we're not devaluing, the brand of cricket that is, I think that needs to be played accordingly to the series that's on offer, which is New Zealand at home. England need to have the best red ball team going. Holland away. There's enough players who aren't playing Test match cricket can go over there comfortably, and not only. And I'm not talking about winning here. I'm talking about being ambassadors as well as growing the game. Owen Morgan, one of the best captains that's ever been for England, is going to lead a side into the Netherlands with Josh Butler, Moeen Ali, Liam Livingstone, David Malan, Jason Roy, Adil Rashid, Sam Curran. That's a good side going over there. So it's not as though we're sending a B side, a C side, or a D side. We're sending some big hitters to Holland. So no, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, final question. You mentioned Owen Morgan there. Obviously, we know what his numbers look like over the last year. He's said that he's not looking further ahead than the next T20 World Cup, and he'll take it, game by game. But what if he does bat all 3 times and looks scratchy? And I mean, you've always said that you'd be happy to have him in the team if he was averaging 15, which is almost what he was averaging for the last year. But what if he doesn't make double figures and can't hit the ball off the square?
He still plays for me. Owen Morgan's like Jimmy Anderson. For me, Owen Morgan's like Jimmy Anderson in white ball cricket. He's got such a mind and such a ray of quality that he will always be in my side. Always. For the simple fact is, I always said in white ball cricket, Owen Morgan is one of the best all-rounders in world cricket, in white ball cricket. And people go, well, you don't bowl. Doesn't need a bowl. As a captain, decisions under pressure, field positions, bowling decisions, the way he changes the game, that 15 runs, 20 runs. He can save 15, 20 runs with the way he conducts and goes about his job as a leader of that team in the field. So for me, he's like having a sixth bowler, a seventh bowler. And he's batting, just wait till the big stage comes. Just wait till the finals day comes. Just wait till the big competition comes. Never lets you down. And that's why, for me, Jimmy Anderson and Owen Morgan tells me they're retiring, I'm going, that's the only way you're not playing in my team. I think he's got enough credit in the bank to go to both World Cups as leader, no matter how many he scores or what his average is leading into the tournament.
Time now to hear from the New England white ball coach, Matthew Mott. I caught up with him a little bit earlier, soon after arrival in the Netherlands. Well, Matthew, thank you very much indeed for your time. Can we start at the beginning? These days, it doesn't seem that there's ever quite such a thing as a straightforward job application and appointment. There always seems to be some connection. How did you come about being offered the job?
Well, essentially, I actually applied for the Australian men's job, which Andrew McDonald got, and I went down that process quite a bit. And one of the companies that was running that independently was also had a brother company over in England, and so my name was added to a short list there. I was asked I wanted to go for the role, and I did. So it was something that wasn't really on the radar, but once I got my head around what the role looked like and that it would be separated to be white ball and red ball, I was very excited to go for the role and extremely delighted to get it.
And did you wow Rob Key in the same way that Brendan McCullum did in your interview?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. He doesn't give too much away to me, Kesey. But I think it was a really good process. I went through 4 rounds of interviews. I spoke to a lot of different stakeholders, and I felt like it was a really fair process, and I quite enjoyed it. Got to speak a lot of cricket. We dug deep into what I really believed in, and hopefully there was a real alignment to where this team wants to go, and that's I feel why I got the role.
When England tried split coaches before with Ashley Giles and Andy Flower, it was problematic. I think it's fair to say. I think both men admitted that it was problematic. What's your relationship like with Brendan McCullum? And do you think it will be easier this time, second time around, to differentiate the roles?
Yeah, I can't really comment on the past, but what I can comment on is, that we've basically got a blank canvas to work with. We're all, Rob, myself, and Brendan have all come in at the same time. So, I think that obviously the test team started well, but when we do get an opportunity to all sit down together in the same room and go through it, I'm sure we'll all have some really good, robust discussions about what it looks like, probably over the next 18 months to 2 years. And that's probably the key for Rob is pardon the pun, is to work out how he wants it to work. He's articulated to me how he wants it to work, and I've got a great relationship with Brendan. I coached him at the Kolkata Knight Riders many years ago, and we've kept in touch ever since. We've crossed paths quite a few times, and he's someone whose cricket brain I really respect. So, and the same with Rob. I did an exchange with Kent nearly 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, and really enjoyed his cricket mind. And once again, when I was at Glamorgan a few years ago, we crossed paths again. So there's a mutual respect, I think, between the three of us. I think that, it's not going to be all our own way, and there's going to have to be times where someone's going to have to give a little bit for the bigger picture, but I'm sure we can have those discussions.
If it isn't already remembered as one of the greatest teams ever, it surely will in the future, the Australian women's team that you coached. I suppose it might have been easy to stay there and to carry on with World Cups coming up, or did you feel like it was the natural end of a cycle?
Yeah, I think for probably the last 18 months, I've been working out the best exit strategy, what that would look like. I think anytime it's been in the role for 7 years, and we've had some turnover of players and staff at that time, but I was always mindful that we achieved such great things. I didn't want to stay a year too long. And I think, going into another contract, I was due probably in the next 8 months to renegotiate. So after that World Cup, and we had a bit, down tools for a bit, it gave me a bit of a chance to reflect on, what it would look like for me going forward and for the group. And I had an inkling that night after the World Cup that might be my last chance with the group, and I made a real effort to enjoy it and savour it. But I also felt it was a great time for someone else to take over. And Shelley Nitschie's got the first opportunity leading into the Commonwealth Games. She's been a great servant of Australian cricket, and I hope she does really well. But the leadership group in Meg and Rach, they're solid and they've got it under control. So you never want to leave something that's so successful, but there always comes a time. And to me, this opportunity was perfect timing, not just for me individually, but for my family. We're really excited. We've got some great friends in the UK, and we can't wait to meet up with them. And they're really excited about the adventure in front of the family. So we're just really excited about it.
You're going from one extremely good team, great team maybe, to another very good team. Is it harder to make a poor team competitive, a poor team good, than to make a good team great? I mean, you're going to a very good team, aren't you?
That's a great question. I think you pretty much summed it up with what you said. What you want to do is take a team from one particular point and improve them. And when you look back, some of the best coaches that I've seen have taken teams that were really struggling, rebuilt them, and left them in a better place. And the team is functioning really well, and there's no secret in that. I think Owen Morgan as a leader has done some great things here. There's been some really good contributors, and the depth is enormous. So for me, it's just those incremental gains that hopefully I can bring to the group, a slightly different perspective, but certainly not coming in to try and reinvent the wheel. I think it's humming along well. The team's in a pretty good spot in the white ball cricket, and for success would look like competing in big games regularly, and that sustained success is what every team craves, I guess.
What can England fans expect, Matt? What kind of coach are you? Excuse the predictability of the question, but what's your philosophy?
Yeah, I just believe in you're called support staff for a reason, and so you're there to support the playing group. So the players are the centre of all your thoughts, and you need to make sure that you as a support group are making them not just better cricketers but better people, and one that the fans want to fall in love with as a team. I think that's just speaking to people when you mention this team, it's the way they play which excites everyone. The freedom of the batting and the adaptability of the bowlers. So in terms of the philosophy, it's more of that. It's more of that empowerment of players, more of a facilitator, and I guess the technical term would be like a shared leadership model, and trying to get everyone in the group to lead in certain ways. So I think the days of coach being the dictator in cricket are not there anymore. It's more about how you're going to work with the designated leaders, and how you're going to empower the younger players to lead in their own way as well. What
makes you such a good coach? Your record's outstanding everywhere you've been. You weren't, with the greatest of respect, the most dynamic player. You were very solid, as I recall, very reliable. But there's a dynamism about your results as a coach. Where'd that come from?
I think I certainly got a lot more confident coach than I was as a player. I think you've alluded to it already that I do think that helps me. I was a player who was probably a talented young player, but then went through most of my career with a lot of self-doubt around my performance and how I could improve my game. And so I can reflect back on that a lot. And I think particularly the fringe players that need that confidence, I can find a way to have the empathy to try and find a way out of it. And I don't give them the answers, but I try and help them find those solutions and make sure that they're taking control of their own destiny and not pigeonholing themselves. So a lot of my mates did have a laugh when Brendan McCullum was made the red ball coach and I was the white ball. I think that the English ECB might have been a bit colourblind, but I do think that we both bring very different perspectives to the group, and the perceived needs of what each group needs are very different. So, the Test team is in a rebuilding phase, and they're seeking confidence. Whereas I think this team, there's a general feeling that it's going pretty well. But how do we go from that good to being considered great? And I think every team should aspire to that. And that's not the only team that will be trying to do that, but we'll certainly be doing that in as much as we can control.
Owen Morgan's made no secret of the fact, obviously, that he's in the autumn of his career and he's not looking further ahead than the T20 World Cup in less than 100 days. How well do you know him? How many conversations have you had with him and the other players in the group?
Yeah, I'd like to say a lot more than I have, but I've admired on from a distance. He's a player, actually, when I did that exchange with Kent, I did meet a couple of times there, and I had an instant rapport with him. I really liked the way he went about his cricket. I've watched him from a distance as a leader. I've been absolutely blown over by how powerful a leader he is within this group already, and I've only been around 5 minutes, but you can see when he speaks, he commands respect, and everyone's hanging off his every word. So I did catch up with him in London the other day. We had a nice lunch together, and we just went through some of the things that we think is really important and trying to get that alignment. But I really see this tour as being a great opportunity. I'm about to catch up with him downstairs now, just to keep teasing out where we think the areas that we can both help each other out to make sure that we're ticking everything off.
Some might say that this tour to the Netherlands is a nice soft start, a nice gentle half volley, but it's also a potential banana skin.
Yeah, there's always, depending on your lens, there's always a way to look at it. But look, I think it's the first one where we get a chance together. It's a new experience. The ground looks amazing. They're hoping to get 5,500 there, and a lot of English fans as well. So I'm sure the atmosphere will be great. I can tell you just seeing the way the players embraced each other and the support staff at the airport, that everyone's really looking forward to this trip. Probably been starved of white ball cricket over the last 12 months. So they're really looking forward to getting together with their mates and playing some really good cricket.
Couple more, if I may. Mark Elaine and Neil Killeen will be assisting you. Have you caught up with them? I guess you were on the plane together.
Yeah, we have. I've actually known Mark a little bit. I was, I had a little bit to do with Gloucester through Ian Harvey and Andrew Simons when they played there as well. So I've known him for a long time, not overly well, but it was really interesting last night. We all caught up as a staff group and had dinner together. And, cricket is such a small world. We had so many connections with different people and, different stories to tell. And, they fitted in beautifully. Obviously, first day on the tools today, they seem like really good operators and excited for this opportunity. So they bring a real freshness to the group, apart from obviously a new coach coming in. And, they've been around the game a long time and know a lot of stuff.
Final question about you and, uprooting from Australia. I don't know whether you're going to be living out of a suitcase or you have been living out of a suitcase. It must have been a massive decision. I heard actually that you're intending to settle in Cardiff. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah, I had 3 years at Glamorgan a few years ago. We got some great friends there. Yeah, my wife was absolutely adamant we were living in Cardiff, so I didn't have much of a say in that. But, we got some really great friends there. I've got a lot of friends in the north as well. I played a lot of league cricket up in the Lancashire League, so and even in Scotland. But for us, we got a lot of mutual friends that we made together, and we can see the next 4 years plus our kids going to good school there, and really looking forward to just a new environment for them, a new challenge. And I think they're so looking forward to getting over here in about a month's time.
We're joined now by Netherlands captain and left-arm spinner, all-rounder actually, Peter Saylor. Peter, first of all, the obvious question is, how exciting is it to be playing against the world champions, not in a one-off game, but in a 3-match series?
Nothing but very exciting. We've had the West Indies over 10 days ago, and I think there was a nice appetizer in terms of the excitement that was around. And I think now England coming with, the buzz and everything around it, I think it should be a good day for Dutch cricket here in Amsterdam.
The expectation, I think, amongst neutrals is that England will win and win comfortably. But then it was before the West Indies series as well. And I think you were, despite missing some top players, very competitive. But I also got the sense that being competitive wasn't enough. I think you either wanted to, or obviously wanted to, but expected to win at least one of those games. Yeah,
well, as you said, I think with England especially being the defending world champions or the other world champion, they should beat us. And I guess that's where our opportunities lie. They have to beat us, and we really want to beat them. I guess that's the main difference. Yeah, I think also from the West Indies point of view, they came over thinking it was going to be a walk in the park, and I think we've showed, especially in glimpses, that we're not as bad a cricket team as people might think, or people that definitely don't follow us think we're not that great. That's exactly what you said. Just being competitive is not enough. You also want to put yourself in those positions where you can win the game. And I think against the West Indies in ODI 2, we had a good shot, but we missed a run out. Having them 99 for 5, would have been very different. especially if they chase the total down 5 down. What if a new batsman comes in at that stage, and especially that last game, chasing 310 and sort of up until the 37th, 38th over when ODI got out, we were in the driving seats and unfortunately couldn't finish it off, losing by 20 runs, and it was one of those things where we actually felt gutted because, there was the chance to get our win and unfortunately we didn't take it this time.
So how do you go about trying for a win against England? I mean, you would think that if you just play orthodox cricket and, stand toe to toe and trade blows, you will lose. You've got to come up with a cunning plan, haven't you? Like an ambush.
That is exactly right. And I think the way England also play their cricket, if you just want to go along with the game, you're going to lose. So in terms of that, we have to be, you can say brave, but I would say, you have to be opportunistic. And especially when we've got that feeling and that, that is not game or ball one, especially not in a 50 over game, but it's really once we sense a moment, you can't let go, especially not against the best in the world. So yes, there will also be some plans and, at times you have to be, I wouldn't say rogue, but, maybe do something unexpected, because like I said, you're up against the best in the world and at times catching them off guard is what is needed, is what is required in order to shake them up a little bit. But yeah, we'll have to go in, first of all, full of confidence. And I think what we've been speaking about as a team is that, the West Indies was great. I think England is a different kettle of fish altogether. But in saying that, whatever happens, happens. And in the end, it's a game of cricket and we're about showing how good we can play cricket. And you're not going to pulling off an upset by just being conventional. Doesn't mean we're going to come out slowing, but we have to be brave. And, once we sense that opportunity, we really have to grab it.
Let's just talk about the personnel for a moment. It's frustrating not having Colin Ackerman and Rula van der Merwe, but Tom Cooper returns to the side. And I have to say, Vikramjit Singh, Baz de Leerde, both looked very good. Max O'Dowd, you've already mentioned. And we all fell instantly in love with Shariz Ahmed, by the way. What a wonderful prospect he is as a 19-year-old leg spinner.
Yeah, well, in terms of the frustrating part, I guess it's also now a thing because I guess for you guys, it's the first thing. For us, it's been going around for a number of years, but especially more recently, the last sort of half year when coming back from the World Cup and then we had to play South Africa, Afghanistan, New Zealand, and the West Indies all not at full strength is frustrating. But on the flip side of that, it's great to see young guys prosper at this sort of level. Vikram, first of all, he started well in New Zealand, where he turned some heads where guys were like, oh, this guy can actually play a bit. Against the West Indies, there was another step up in terms of his performances. And I think the quicker the bowling becomes, the easier it gets for him. And, he always seems so relaxed about it. And some guys just, the higher they get, the better they play. And I think he's definitely one of those. But especially what you said, a couple of those youngsters, they've really, really done well. And I think they don't have yet any scars or anything. They just want to show how much they, first of all, love cricket, and secondly, how much they want to take it on. And I think that's great. From when I started playing and you play against the big names, you kind of think the names you're playing. And I think more and more what has happened, and I think T20 has done it, you just play the ball and it's merit. And if regardless who bowls or who bats, you just have to do the best you can. So that is great. Shariz, what a lovely little guy. I think, he started well. I think he had a very good first game, and it's up for him now to he might get the opportunity in this series. We'll have to see what's what and what the best combination will be on the day. But yeah, I think what those guys have shown is there's some good future for Dutch cricket in the years to come.
You just mentioned when you started to play, when you started playing the game. I have to get you to tell the story of you and Owen Morgan playing against each other at under 15 level when he was playing for Ireland. Is that still fresh in the memory?
Not that fresh when I saw it was 21 years ago. But it was quite funny seeing that photo. Actually, that photo was taken by my mother at that stage, which was quite funny. But yeah, I can't say Morgs and I go back a long way in terms of that. We've played each other at that level, and it was funny. And I think it's quite funny that in after 21 years you're going to shake hands again. But then by my mother at that stage, which was quite funny. But yeah, I can't say Morgs and I go back a long way in terms of that. We've played each other at that level, and it was funny. And I think it's quite funny that after 21 years you're going to shake hands again, but then on the highest level possible in world cricket, that two young blokes can 21 years later shake hands again and throw up a coin for against England versus Holland. On the world stage, I think it's a fantastic sort of story. I'm not even sure if he's going to remember it, but it's definitely one for the books and one to probably tell my definitely my son, but maybe even my grandchildren.
I think Owen does recall it. How difficult is it to make progress when, I was going to say, the majority of the squad are amateur? The majority of the squad are amateurs. I mean, it's often said that you're the only Dutch cricketer outside of those who are playing county cricket who makes a living wage. I mean, I'm assuming that you're not buying holiday islands in the Caribbean on your salary. I mean, it must be extremely difficult to make the kind of progress that you would like to and your ambitions when the guys are having to do day jobs.
Yes and no, because obviously we want to play at the highest level possible. The issue that I think that we face is we come from Dutch club cricket, which is pretty similar to, I would say, English club cricket, but then there's not that sort of building blocks towards sort of like minor county cricket into the international arena. So by the time you're playing for your country, you're either a seasoned campaigner or extremely talented. Where I guess in Holland, you go from the pure club cricket, is that for some of these guys, the next game they play is against England or is against the West Indies, which is the best in the world. So in terms of becoming more professional, I think we kind of lack sort of the professional attitude, what you need in cricket from the building blocks and having seen enough cricket to know what's what. And that's why I guess when associates or semi-professional teams play professional teams, that's I guess we can get flustered a little bit if things don't go our way or it goes the other team's way, is how you react to that. And in cricket, obviously, being a lot of a mental game, is that you need to have a lot of experience, a lot of mental strength in order to combat with that. But in terms of what you said about how we're going and the progression we make, is that we make progression, and you can see it from the games we've played up until now. We keep getting better, and I guess where the problem lies is once this finished, what's going to happen then? Are there going to be enough games? Are we going to keep playing enough cricket in order to keep that sort of momentum going? And I guess for all these guys, is then you're all of a sudden not playing cricket for months, and you have to go back to your day job, and there's no foreseeable cricket coming. It becomes tough to keep that sort of motivation going and your actual skills to keep progressing, because the only way you're really going to keep going in cricket is to play as much games as you can. And I guess the lack of game time is generally what we miss sort of over the 12-month basis, year in year. And that is not so much frustrating, but especially when you see the youngsters coming through now, you want them to have the best opportunity possible. And, normally the route would be go over to England and try and play county cricket, which for us now with Brexit is more complicated or not possible. I'm not quite aware of the rules, to be honest. But for us to become more professional, we can always talk about how much you need to earn, but I think it's more about the opportunity for us to play cricket. And I think where we, the guys that have played now for a number of years, or we're playing back in sort of 2012, 13, 14 years, where we played CB40, was for us the perfect way to get accustomed to the professional sort of life and what it means and what the standards are of being a professional cricketer. And unfortunately, we don't have that way anymore. And it's about the amount of cricket.
Okay, well, final question then, Peter. This is your opportunity. We're providing you with the platform. Give us your master plan of how the ECB can help Netherlands cricket. My co-host, Steve Harmison, believes that the 50-over competition should be divided into 3 groups of 7, with Scotland, Ireland and the Netherlands joining the 18 counties. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the ECB have an obligation to help the Netherlands cricket, but what would your ideal vision be? We won't term it as a request, just a vision.
Well, as I said, it's about the amount of cricket you play, right? I think, and it's obviously, I'm not going to go into detail too much, but infrastructure becomes a problem when you're on the other side of the sea. But, for us, I think, especially in terms of trying to become better cricketers and understanding what cricket is about, not just 50 over cricket, but cricket as a whole, we would definitely have to play sort of like county second 11s or even minor county cricket in sort of the multi-day formats in learning the real art of cricket batting for a long time, how to get guys out rather than just trying to defend runs and whatever. That there will be a step one too much where one too many where I have to agree with your co-host in saying that that's where I've learned probably the most of my cricket was in that there was the Pro 40 or CB40 back in the day. Because then we played on the professional grounds and we got used to what the professional standard was like. And actually, like the first 2 years, we hardly won a game, but I think we won 8 on the bounce, purely because we were by then used to the level of cricket. And I think we've progressed nicely through that. So in saying that, yes, that would be great. But even then, with white ball cricket being so much the only format that is that if there would be a chance that would, why wouldn't we be able to play in the Vitality Blast? Or like, and that's what we've done now or over the last couple of years before COVID, is that we went on the county trips and pretty much played sort of like, not the development teams, but like the fringe players or the guys that were preparing for the white ball season or for the Vitality Blast. Really, is just go over and play a week of T20 cricket against for the Gloucesters, Northends, Leicester, Glamorgans of the world, and that was for us. That's already beneficial as a start. But like being involved in a whole competition, that would obviously be great. And I think what you've seen, even with Scotland, and the ECB might not see it that way, is that we start, we lose. But I think in terms of the growth that we've made since sort of 2014, is that I don't think we're that far behind on county cricket. I'm not saying that we definitely win or whatever, but the standard of associate cricket, and especially the Ireland, Hollands, Scotland's, and there's many more around the world, has improved out of sight. And the only way we're going to really get better is to get into the sort of professional setup. Create your own. I understand people say that, but it's going to be tough with only 5,000 cricketers in the country.
Peter Seeler, thank you so much for your time. And just a final thought. When you're bowling to Josh Buttler, just remember he's only another batsman.
That is true, and I've still got room in my pocket for him. So no, I can't say that. He's just another guy who's going to get called down long on. Let's hope so.
Enjoy the series. Have a fantastic time. Good luck. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us, Peter.
No worries. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Harmy, we heard there from Peter Saylor. I think he was absolutely brilliant. He agrees with the concept of trying to ambush England. He agrees that they've got no chance at all if they stand toe to toe and try to back their skills against England. But he said that they like it against the West Indies. They don't just want to be competitive; they want to try and win a game. But you've already said they've got no chance.
Yeah, and I was obviously buoyant about the way England are and what England have got. They've got a leg spinner in Shiraz Ahmed, who I really enjoyed. What a breath of fresh air. And we never want to talk about politics in this country, but Brexit and everything that comes with a chance for sort of EU passports getting in, he would have had a contract in the county scene by now. Somebody would have took him. He has got so much talent or so much potential that I think somebody would have took him by now. Baz the leader, I think he's got a yard of pace that, talking to Ryan Ten-Descartes, he said he's had a bit of injury problems, a prolonged period in the game of cricket where he didn't get an injury. He bowled 83, 84 mile an hour. I think if he had a little bit more game time in him and a more game time in him, when it comes to a county circuit, you could see him have an extra yard of pace. He's got something about him. I'm only saying England won't lose because of the talent that England have got, the experience that England have got, especially in the batting department. Whatever surface they want to play on, whatever scenarios that they get, England will not. I don't think England will falter. But the Netherlands have got some fine players. They have got some fine players who are on the up and up and up and coming. They give a little bit of a fright to the West Indies, but England won't do that. These guys don't do that. The best team in the world at white ball cricket, they don't do it. And the batting unit is that from. But Netherlands have got some good players, and the exposure to the cricket would be as good. still, like we said to Boris yesterday, we talked about how the Netherlands can get better. The Netherlands get better by playing the West Indies. The Netherlands get better by playing bilateral series against England. Leg spinner, bowling at Jason Roy coming out at you in the first 15. Owen Morgan hitting you in a completely different area than what Jason would do. And then Liam Livingston coming in later on, who hits sixes. Like, he doesn't hit 80, 90-metre sixes. He hits 100-metre sixes. The young leg spinner is going to learn how to bowl at these guys. So that's how they're going to get better. I still think there's value in the ECB getting them involved in the white ball English county scene. But that's another argument down the line. They've got some young players that can perform, and there's no better place to perform on the big stage in front of the TV cameras.
You mentioned Bertus de Jong there. He's a cricket writer who specialises in covering the Associate Nations with a particular bent towards the Netherlands. This was him explaining why the Netherlands aren't at full strength for the duration of the English summer.
You've got a situation now where both the ICC and the ECB have been on the record saying that it's important that counties release players, and that the primacy of the international game is something that they both stand for and can get behind. But there's been very little involvement from either of those two boards when it comes to the KNCB negotiating with players and with counties to get these guys released. Now, from a Dutch perspective, at the end of the day, the problem is, of course, just that they don't have their players playing in the Netherlands because it's very difficult to make a living as a professional cricketer in the Netherlands. So they'll see a lot of their best players will be playing at counties. And for the players, there's really very little that you can do, because that's where you make your living. And it's not just about money. It's also, these are, when you're playing for a county, they're the guys that you train with, the guys that that you see day in, day out. And there's a degree of loyalty there as well. And they don't want to let their counties down any more than they want to let the KNCB down. But when it comes to a three-way negotiation between the counties and the KNCB and the players, there's only really one of those three parties that have any power, any say. And if the ICC and the ECB don't step in, or at least encourage counties to release players, then you're going to see this time again. And it's just really disappointing that when you've got a summer like the Dutch have, that they've never had before and they probably never get again, that they can't get their best 11 on field.
Bertus, you've got your finger a lot closer to the pulse of associate cricket than I have, but it's my understanding that the letter of the law or the contract actually does give the Netherlands the right to insist that those players come and play. But the amount of, cash and goodwill that the likes of Colin Ackerman and Roelof van der Merwe would lose by going and playing for the Netherlands, as much as they might want to. But my understanding is that the Netherlands Cricket Board could insist that their players come and play, but there would be too much for them to lose, the players, that is.
Yeah, in theory, under the mandatory release rules for the ICC, then the Netherlands could use the so-called nuclear option and refuse to issue no objection certificates to the players, and they wouldn't be able to play county cricket either. But the trouble with that, from a Dutch perspective, is not only that they don't want to do that, they don't want to hurt these players' careers, because the fact that being a professional cricketer in the Netherlands is not really a viable option. Even the national team players, of the two players that are on contracts, it's really only Peter Saylor that makes a living wage from the KNCB. The rest have to subsidise it with contributions from their clubs and from coaching and the like. So the Dutch are keenly aware of the fact that if you want a young Dutch player to think that he can make a career as a cricketer, you can't have that without the option of playing either across the North Sea or in, say, New Zealand or in Australia. They know that if, these youngsters coming up thinking, I'm going to make a career as a cricketer, it's not just about the players that are playing county cricket now. It's also about these kids coming up, that they want to believe that they can have a career as a county cricketer, and as a professional cricketer at all. And that is not something, at least at the moment, that's a reasonable prospect in the Netherlands. So it isn't purely that that the KNCB are unable to get these players over. They don't want to spoil those relationships with counties, and the KNCB have a long-standing relationship with English cricket. The Dutch are maybe the only other cricket country in the world that routinely cheer for England in Test games. It goes back over a century, that relationship, and it's not something that the KNCB really want to poison through taking that kind of option.
That was associate cricket writer Bertus de Jong explaining why the Netherlands aren't at full strength. You can understand guys like Colin Ackerman and Roelof van der Merwe not making the trip. They're intrinsic to their teams in the championship, but playing a very important role in the Blast. A pity that Brandon Glover is not there, the South African turned Dutchman. He's playing in Northant's second 11 at the moment. He's a very, very decent bowler. It is frustrating, but do you know, Harmy, I mean, as we discussed with Bertus yesterday, the Netherlands could insist that they come and play, but I think there's too much to lose for the players. And, you know, the Netherlands aren't ambitious above their station, if you like. And it's just a practical thing, isn't it? I mean, it was interesting as well to hear Peter Saylor talking about your suggestion that the 50-over competition becomes three groups of 7 with Scotland, Ireland and the Netherlands joining in the 18 counties. He was also suggesting that they played some maybe second 11 cricket and even feature in the Blast. I mean, it's a big enough tournament to feature another couple of teams, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. But I've always said if you could put a first class system in Scotland and in Ireland and now in the Netherlands, you would enhance cricket in the Northern Hemisphere, and that would help the English cricket team because each of their countries will get better and they'll play against other associated nations. It'll put a higher value on one-day cricket and white ball cricket for these bilateral series to be more of a contest, a better contest, a bigger contest, grow cricket in the areas which is so important, whether we are England and Wales Cricket Board, whether Wales becomes their own nation and comes in that front. Because everybody, and again, I'll mention his name again. I keep mentioning his name, but I keep digging at him in Kev. Kevin wants that 10-game, 10-county, shortest format, best players playing against each other. Well, I don't see any reason why we can still have that, but have feeders into it. And the feeders into it, you know, sometimes adding to it is better than taking things away. Now, if you have got 18 first-class counties, which we have, we could potentially have 21 viable entities, first-class counties, and 3 other countries coming into it who could throw all their money and resources into making cricket in this region a lot better. And then all of a sudden you go head-to-head and toe-to-toe. Holland, with money in the bank, will produce a system which will make Holland better. So will Ireland, so will Scotland. Now, if it enhances them in sort of England as well, I don't see who loses here. I think it will be far better, and we go over and you attract better countries to come to play against England. But they'll also play against Holland, play Ireland, and play against Scotland. It's a no-brainer for me in the Northern Hemisphere, and that's what makes Netherlands cricket better. That's what makes these associated nations go from associated nations to test play nations. Because we are largely down to England in the Northern Hemisphere, who play a hell of a lot of cricket, and we talk about our calendar. I think we'll always play loads of cricket because of who we are. But I think we can help other countries, especially around us, to enhance the game. Man, as we've just watched a game of cricket finish on day 5 at Trent Bridge, 17,500 people get free tickets to get in. And I reckon 20% of that ground, or 15% of that ground, potentially had watched at most 4 test matches in their entire lives. We built the game. Johnny Bairstow walks off, helmet in the air. Stokes is telling the world what a great thing this test match cricket game has been. And we've brought a new audience in from Nottingham, mainly students. Now, why can't we bring that to Holland, Ireland, Scotland, and enhance the Northern Hemisphere and the pool better? And I think that would be a big thing for the ECB to reach out and branch out and help bring them all together.
Final question. What would you say to the people who would say, what good does that do for Dutch cricket if it goes horribly wrong? So if England make 450 or the Netherlands are bowled out for 80, they say, what good does that do for Dutch cricketers?
Doesn't do anything for Dutch cricketers. It doesn't devalue Dutch cricket. It certainly doesn't enhance it, but it doesn't devalue it. Dutch cricket it'll not be the be all and end all of playing against England. Dutch cricket in this 12, 13 group team, bilateral series to get to the World Cup qualifying. They're no further forward if they lose 3-0. They're no further forward if England get 400 and bowl them out for 80. But they're no further backwards either, because then they'll go and play their 3 matches against somebody else, 3 matches against somebody else, try and qualify for the 7. They won't get there. They'll end up going into that 5 with another 5 and trying. One thing we'll do, you know what? Suresh Ahmed, Baz the leader, you know what that'll do? They'll go, I have never bowled at anybody like Owen Morgan before. I have never bowled at anybody like Jason Roy before. I have never bowled at anybody like Liam Livingstone before. And you know what they'll do? They'll learn that is the standard. That is the level. And they'll make sure the next time they go into a game, no matter who they play against. It's like when I played against Australia, my 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th test matches against that great Australia side of Hayden, Langer, Ponton, Steve Waugh, Damian Martin, Adam Gilchrist, Warren McGrath, Lee, you name it, Gillespie. I came back from that going, in 14, 15 test matches until I play them again, I will not play anybody again as good as them. So you will get confidence from actually the disappointment of playing against somebody who is unbelievable. And that's what I'll do for Dutch cricket.